Hello and welcome to the Whitwam Organics Live Nursery and Garden Report. My name is David Whitwam and I am your host. This week is our every other week where I have a guest on. And this week I'm very excited. My guest today is a dear family friend, best friends with my wife, and somebody that we've known for many years and is also very well known in the Tampa area gardening community, Michelle James. But before I bring her in, we're going to go ahead and zip through the nursery report and then a little bit about what I've been seeing and doing in some of my gardens around the Tampa area. So right now out in the nursery for live plants, we have Astro and Rocket Arugula, African tree basil, African blue basil, fall rapini, Zamboni broccoli rabe, Parasicaba broccoli. It's a sprouting broccoli from Brazil. DeCiso. I don't know how to pronounce that. I'm terrible with that name. Head broccoli, Calabrese, green sprouting broccoli, and one of my new favorites, purple peacock sprouting broccoli. It's actually a kale and broccoli hybrid blend. We also have Chinese cabbages. We have Blue's Chinese cabbage, which is kind of a barrel. It's called a barrel Chinese cabbage. And then we have Rocket Chinese cabbage, which is a rocket shape. Like, it's more conical. We have Red Acre cabbage, green Wakamine cabbage. Terrible at pronouncing these things. We have Fort Hook chard, Swiss chard, perpetual spinach beet chard, ruby red chard. We also have a little bit of an overstock on our cilantro plants. So those are actually marked down to 50% off right now, as well as cilantro seeds. It's a good time to get your cilantro going. We also have Georgia collards, sort of. They're kind of a Georgia collard, so Georgia-like collard. It's actually a hybrid that is a heavier producer than your regular heirloom Georgia collards. We have dill, ducket dill. We have young green flowering brassica. That is a yu choi sum plant. It means leaf stem flower or Chinese broccoli. We have purple choi sum, same thing, but it's purple. For kales, we have blue curl kale, red Russian kale, Siberian kale. Right now, we're out of lacinato kale, but we have more coming. It'll be ready soon. We also have a Chinese flowering kale, which is another type of Chinese broccoli that's actually a little bit more related to kale, whereas the other two, the yu choi sums, are a little bit more related to bok choy. And that comes out in the flavor as well. Lettuces, we have Bibb lettuce, black-seeded Simpson lettuce, butter crunch, Freckles romaine, Jericho romaine that we've had all year because it's so darn heat tolerant. Manoa head, which is a kind of a smaller butter crunch that was developed in Hawaii for its heat tolerance. Red fire leaf lettuce, red romaine lettuce. We also have, these are two of my favorites. They're in the mustard family, but they're super light and they grow a little bit more like a kind of a feathery lettuce. And that is Mizuna and Mabuna. If you've never tried it before, I highly recommend that you get this in your garden. You can eat it raw in a salad. It's delicious in a stir fry. We also have mojito mint, Vietnamese mint, mustard greens. We usually have a Mike giant mustard and a red giant mustard. We are temporarily out of those. They are up and coming and will be ready within the next couple days. We still have tons of nasturtiums. You see the onions. I think we sold out of, yes, we sold out the plants for the onions. And we're not getting any more till next year. We have red pak choi, lots of parsley, plenty of parsley. This is a good time of year to plant herbs, y'all, if you haven't figured it out. We have giant red old-fashioned pentas. Those come in a few different sizes. We still have some big red peppers, habanero peppers, a little bit of jalapeno peppers, and then one of my favorites, I think we have one plant left, is a Tinderbell hybrid mini bell pepper. Those are like those little snack peppers. Thai bird peppers. If you like hot peppers, Thai bird peppers are the way to go. We also have sage, some tropical salvia, which is a Florida native. For spinach, we have Bloomsdale spinach, which is pretty heat tolerant. Okami spinach, which is extremely heat tolerant. I mean, nothing like Malabar spinach, but these are true spinaches. And then we also have Veriflay spinach, which really needs it to be cold, which it is. And I grow it for its flavor. It has a really good, strong spinach flavor. Let's see here. Oh, new. Michelle, when I bring you in, if you can hear me, I need you to help me with the way to say this. I think it's called Sweet Alyssum. But when I bring you in, you can correct me on that. But we just brought that in per some people's requests. We also have Tampa Verbena, which is also a Florida native. Another one of my favorites is Choho greens, which is like it's like a tatsoi, so like a loose leaf bok choy. That's a plant that is just going to keep giving you food. They're absolutely delicious and really easy to grow this time of year. We have Texas tarragon. I have are those plants or seeds? Yes, we have some Everglades tomatoes plants, and I have 1 pack of Everglade tomato seeds left for this season until we can produce more for next season. Tomatoes, we have some Roma, determinate Roma tomatoes. I also have some indeterminate Roma tomatoes. I like both in my garden. Determinate, more of a stalky, bushy plant that tends to put all of its tomatoes out at the same time, whereas the indeterminate Romas, you get the same kind of tomatoes. They're not as pasty, but it will continue to grow and vines out just like a good old indeterminate will. Cherokee Purple, my favorite heirloom to grow, pretty good producer. They do have a little bit of a problem with cracking out of the middle, but I don't see that to be that big of an issue. It only happens on like not that many, maybe 1 per plant per season. We also have Brandywine heirloom tomatoes. If you've ever tried to grow Brandywine tomatoes before, I have found that some of these older heirloom tomatoes, a tomato flower has the male and female parts in the same flower. And so they're what we call self-pollinating. But some of the older heirlooms, the male part, the stamen, can be a little stingy with the pollen. So it kind of holds onto the pollen until an insect, like a bee, gets close enough to the flower that the frequency of the vibrations of their wings causes the stamen to release the pollen. And what I thought was going on was that because these heirlooms are so old that when they were developed, we had different pollinators flying around. Because a lot of our pollinators are going extinct, and most of what we rely on for pollinators are honeybees. So think about the size of like a wood bee or a carpenter bee or a bumblebee compared to a honeybee. So the bigger the bee, the lower the frequency of its wings. So I got myself one of these. It's a, I don't know if you can hear that. This is my tomato vibrator. So you take it, and I can adjust their frequency, and you put it right up to the flower. And when I put the frequency really high, like that, and put it up to the flower, nothing happens. And then as I lowered the frequency, you could actually watch the pollen go out of the stamen. So it definitely works. But that's why I think a lot of people have poor pollination on their older heirlooms, is because, it's think about how often you see those bigger bees in your garden. They're not non-existent. They're just not around like they used to be. So we still get some pollination. But since I started using this, I get Brandywine tomatoes all over the place. And then Sun Gold cherry tomatoes, definitely one of my favorites to grow. The Sun Gold cherry tomatoes are delicious. It's a real treat to get and grow in your garden, because they just don't store and ship really well. So you'll probably never see them at the grocery store. Give me just 1 second. There's no package over there. I don't know why she did that. Sorry. UPS. So that's it for our nursery report, garden report. Out in a lot of my gardens right now, because of the colder weather, our Asian eggplants are really suffering. These, I love them because we can grow them almost all summer, but that's just because they really like the heat. So as we get through these colder temperatures, they definitely suffer. But our Black Beauty eggplants, which are an heirloom Italian eggplant that likes more mild weather, those are doing really well. Been harvesting a lot of beans, purple green beans, tender green beans. Strawberries are starting to come in. And starfruit, if you have starfruit trees, I'm sure you guys know what I'm talking about. You probably have buckets and buckets of them. So that's it for our nursery and garden report. So let's get down to the real deal here. So let me see, Michelle, let me take you off mute and I'm going to bring you in. Hey, Michelle.
I felt so bad for you at the dog. I was actually calling Emily saying, where are you? You got to get the dogs.
Oh, no.
She's like, I'm not home. I'm like, oh. And then you got up, but
no, the UPS guy, he was banging on the other door because for some reason my system kicked out a pickup.
Well, behind you, I could see the lights pull up. I was seeing the car go by. I was like, uh-oh.
Yeah, he came to this door knocked. So,
yeah,
all right.
Are you home? You better get those dogs live on camera. She's like, oh no. She's like, I'm not home. Sorry.
All right. So Michelle.
Yes.
So Michelle has been doing some pretty rock star stuff in her little yard in, well, I guess it's not so little, is it? How big is your property?
Just under half an acre.
Half an acre on Davis Island. Wow. South Tampa. So about a half an acre, and you have a 1-story house, but it's still not like you live out in the woods and have acreage.
No.
So, she still has a pretty small yard, but is doing an awful lot of cool stuff in her yard. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. And then some of the other things we're going to also talk about that Michelle is rocking and rolling on in our neighborhood and gardening community. So Michelle, we have been talking for a few years about your raised beds. Tell us a little bit about what's going on with those and your trials and tribulations and where you're at now with them.
Well, they started off really good. I got a hair up my butt one day and just grabbed a bunch of scrap lumber, built one because I figured I had the wood. Why not? And then I ran to the store and I got a bunch more lumber to build number 2. And then the plan was to build a cute little green bean tunnel over the 2. I got pulled over on the way home from Home Depot that day. And then I fibbed to the cop and told him that I was building a butterfly garden for children.
When you had the cattle, was
no,
it when you had the cattle panel on your roof?
No, that was a different ghetto time. No, this is the taller raised beds, the little ones. And I got off from a motorcycle cop on Bayshore, just like the undoable. But yeah, I talked my way out of it. He let me go that day. So the short story, though, is 2 years later, the first one that was not pressure treated is completely fallen apart on the first bottom part. So that's going to have to be shored up this year. I might just build it around it. Might be the easiest way.
You got 2 years out of non-pressure treated wood?
Yeah.
It's really not that bad. I mean, if you look at the cost difference between the two types of wood, I don't steer people completely away from it if they're just starting out and they're on a budget.
Mm-hmm.
Because, for all 2 years into it, you might decide this. I'm not saying you, I mean, the general you people that are watching, you might decide that this isn't for you.
Right.
And then, but if you're still kicking it, it's really not that hard to pull the rotten boards off and build a bed almost around the square of dirt that you're going to have sitting there.
Well, it's a couple of feet deep. Do you think it would fall apart? I was almost thinking about just leaving it as is and building it around the rotted wood. Would that be?
I don't think it won't fall apart.
Really? All right.
You just do one side, you do one corner at a time.
Okay.
So you would do like the short board and a long board, pull those off and then put them on, and then do another short board and long board. And then are your boards too high?
Yes.
2 boards high? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll hold together. And even if it doesn't, you know, you can always just shovel some of the dirt off and then shovel it back in.
Yes. And that'll give me the opportunity to actually get cattle panel for that one. I should have bought extra that time. I don't know what I was thinking. Because that was interesting.
So are you growing anything in your raised beds right now?
The other one, that's just I think it's the 10 inches tall. Those 2 I am. I've got a ton of baby kale, several varieties of kale. I've got like white Russian, red boar, dark boar, I think it's called, the lacinato from you. I've also got a bunch of other brassicas. I've got a bunch of different little radishes, the Nero Tondo. I've got the ones, your white ones. There's the Hakurai. Is that how you say it?
I butcher these names all the time.
Hakurai. Oh, and it's Alyssum, I believe. That's how I say it.
Yeah.
The flower.
I know which one you're talking about. It's actually a little bit pink. If you got my super hot one. Or did you get, because I had the white icicle, the long ones. For white ones, I have the white icicle, which are long, thin ones. Looks like a carrot. Mm-hmm. And then I also have hailstone, which is about this big, white. Looks like a little turnip. The ones that are kind of rocket shaped.
Yes.
Those are coming in white.
Yes.
Have you cut one open yet?
No, they're growing now.
Okay, they'll have some pink in them. And
goody.
Yeah, you'll see the pink. Okay.
I like ones. And
those are really hot. Those are really, really hot radishes, but I like them like that.
I've had fun with them. And I've been like lightly blanching them with a little bit of salt. Mm-hmm. And I've got mustard greens coming out my ears. I've got probably 4 different types of mustard greens. These really frilly ones, which name I can't think of at the moment. There's like the red giant common one, and then I've got like a frilly one. Might be something green wave, red wave, green wave.
Yeah, green wave.
And then this one with it's like frilly, and I can't think of that name. Something stars or something possibly.
Something stars.
That doesn't sound right now that I'm saying it.
So are you talking about the Karen radish?
No. There's a radish called Karen.
No, it's called Karen.
Correct. Yes, I bought those from you.
That's why I thought that was the one you were talking about.
Oh, daikon. I said daikon.
Uh-huh.
It just sounds, never mind.
Yeah, those are really hot. Are you growing any other root crops? Carrots?
No, I forgot to start those.
You're not too late. You can still start carrots. Yeah,
okay.
I'll do the cosmic purple carrots that we have.
I love those.
I can start, if you have a pretty good amount of sunlight and feed them, you can start harvesting them at like 45 days.
Okay.
50 days. I'll pull out carrots that look like baby carrots, and then I'll pull out full-size carrots at 60 to 70 days.
Okay. Yeah, I've got those from you too. And I also have your Swiss chard growing. The canary is finally really taking off. I'm not sure if the other colors are doing so well at the most, but I noticed today that the canary ones have already doubled in size from the seed blocks that I made, or the soil blocks, I mean.
It's really interesting. I can't put my thumb on it, but I'll plant all the colors of chard next to each other. And depending on the year and the seed, like I'll have caterpillars only on the red ones, or some years the caterpillars will only be on the canary and the Fantasia orange, the ones like with those shades, or the ones just won't grow really well, or nematodes. So I always plant them, all of them together, and I get some that do really well and some that don't. Sometimes they all do well, but.
Well, then that would explain why several colors have just disappeared. It's definitely like in the first week that I took them out of the soil box and put them out in the front bed. That's just the dirt, not the raised beds. A bunch of the colors just seem to magically disappear overnight.
Well, chard is this one thing that if I plant it out a little bit too small, I will have some of them just evaporate. Like I'll come back in a couple weeks and they'll just like literally be gone. I can almost like see the remnants of a little shriveled up plant just laying there.
Yes.
But chard is like one of the few greens that we grow all summer that you have to keep a close eye on for caterpillars. Because until the plant, now if the plant's like super established, you know, like where they actually get a stalk on them, because you've been harvesting it a bunch, if you get caterpillars and it destroys the middle of the plant, you still run the chance of it putting out like a side shoot. But in those first couple of weeks, like before your first harvest, one little caterpillar can wipe out a chard plant overnight.
Yeah. Yep.
Because they don't really attack the outer bigger leaves. They bore down into the middle, like where the plant's growing from. So, you know, for the most part, most of the greens that we grow all winter, you don't have any bug problems except maybe some aphids. But chard, I've had some pretty serious caterpillar. You got to keep an eye on it for sure.
Yeah. What would you do is there anything you can do? I mean, it's just
so you could try and manually remove the caterpillar or caterpillars.
I've never seen them. How do I?
Well, again, they're down in there in the tender part of the plant, so you almost run the risk of doing more damage trying to remove them.
The plant's like this big.
Yeah, they're tiny. So I get out the BT and spray them. You know?
Okay.
Or conserve, which has got spinosad in it, because if it's not a flowering plant, you can use it. They're both organic alternatives, but just basically, I mean, as long as you don't have them let the caterpillars kill the plant, then it's not like on other, like a squash or a cucumber where you have to keep applying and keep applying and keep applying. It seems like once I take care of the problem, it's done and over with. Gotcha. So speaking of pests, you also, I want you to tell everybody all about your DIY MacGyver hydroponic system that you built, where it was at when you first built it. Or is it still in the same place?
Yes. Well, the very first one, my dad actually helped build for me. It was just a few buckets sitting on some landscape timbers. And then I enlarged that one, doubled the size of it. Paul Cilia helped me do that one. And it was bigger, but we pulled it a little bit further out away from the house to get it more sunlight. And then we had a freak tornado on Davis Island. It came down Biscayne and hit about 2 blocks. And it was just a freak storm. God, it might have been almost a year ago now, maybe 9 months ago. I don't know. Corona's melting my brain. I know. But it was really late one night and we were watching news near 11 o'clock and literally got the alarms on our TVs to get in your closet immediately. And we thought it was a joke at first. And my husband's like, and I'm like, no, we're getting in the hallway and we're shutting the doors. If you want to come with us or not, I said, me and the kids are going to be hiding. And then sure enough, we had neighbors a block over, had bottles thrown through their windows, roof tiles ripped off, trees through houses. I mean, it was some serious damage. We had a lot of limbs down, and then my entire hydroponic system was literally lifted up and blown over about 6 feet away.
Oh my God.
And it was, at that point, it was completely full grown and loaded with tomatoes. It was 6 foot tall of tomatoes, 6 foot wide of tomatoes. I mean,
so
we're talking
what, late winter, spring-ish?
Yeah, yes, it was okay. So it was a year ago. Yes, and it was funny. We got a tornado warning this afternoon, which is kind of creepy.
Yeah, it dissipated right before it got to my house.
Yes, I could see I was picking Maddie up from the bus stop, and you could see the rotation up in the clouds because I was kind of watching it on the way home. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it had to have been right about this time last year, and literally tomatoes everywhere. I gave away so many gallon bags of like cherry heirloom type tomatoes. I had tomatoes coming out my ears, and so many of them were green. It was heartbreaking. And I honestly didn't realize that pretty much almost anything close to full size, if you let it sit on the countertop long enough, it will eventually turn red or orange or yellow.
You can help that out with a banana.
Oh, the gases?
Yeah.
Huh. I don't think I knew that.
So,
I mean, it makes sense.
So there's a when you go out on boats and you go fishing, there's like a kind of a common thing of like, don't bring bananas on the boat. Have you heard that?
No, I don't go long time fishing trips, more like inshore, not offshore. But
okay, like if you went on your friend's boat fishing or something and you brought a banana, they'd at least throw the banana off the boat if they didn't throw you off the boat.
Okay.
Some superstition, but I did some research because I thought it was really interesting that why a banana, right? And then also, why is there a thing called a banana boat? And then also, why do we store bananas in this special place in our kitchen? Like, you're not supposed to put your bananas in like with the rest of your fruit, right? You kind of hang them up on their little And I had a theory that this was all tied in together, and I did some research, and it was right. So the idea of it's bad luck to bring bananas on the boat, it was actually from back when, people had to bring all their food and the merchant sailors would go across the Atlantic and stuff, and they couldn't bring bananas on the boat because it would cause all the other food to spoil.
Well, makes sense.
And so that's why when they transport bananas, they get their own boat.
Plus, banana farmers, I'm assuming they don't usually grow other things. They probably just ship it over on the banana boat.
Well, no, but you can use this to your advantage when you have green tomatoes and put the banana in or banana peel. And I've heard rotting apples does the same thing.
Yes.
I heard that.
And you can do that to trick pineapples, I think, into fruiting too.
If anybody's watching and you know the name of the gas that these fruits put off, please type it in the comments. I'm curious. I don't remember right now.
Methane?
But anyway, so yeah, you can totally ripen most tomatoes. I think most tomatoes that like we buy at the grocery store are probably picked green and gassed before they were shipped.
Makes sense.
The only downside is you don't get that flavor of vine ripened.
Which is why I like store-bought or UF tomatoes. No offense.
Yep, Kenny, that's right. It's ethylene. Yep, I knew I would know it when I saw it. Michelle, say hi.
Hi, Kenny. That's why I like the old tomatoes. I like the really acidic ones. I like the really, tart ones. I don't really love the more mild ones like Cherokee or Brandywine. I like the really tart, tasty ones.
Uh-huh. So, so this tornado knocked over your hydroponic system, and was this before or after your second rebuild?
Before, because that's what prompted it. So,
okay. So it was a good thing because you were planning on doing it anyway, right?
Yeah, but it just happened a little bit sooner because then I had to pick a million tomatoes. So after I sat there and cried for, half a day, and the neighbors helped me pick all the tomatoes, and Kate helped pick a bunch and gave them all away. We cleaned up the mess, composted a lot, got rid of pretty much everything and started it from scratch. But that's what prompted me to make it bigger and better and stronger and storm-proof. So the next one, I made a huge structure out of wood. The other one was just kind of sitting on top of cinder blocks on top of the driveway in the backyard. This one is now sunk into the ground 2 feet with my post hole digger. So it's sunk into the ground in 4 different places. And it's got a huge frame on top. So all of them can be tethered up to the top. And it's sitting down a little bit lower. So I've got a little bit more growing room. One thing that I didn't do before that everyone gave me a lot of grief about is the water tank was not in the ground, and I didn't also cover it with any kind of insulation to keep the liquid cool. You're supposed to keep it cool because Florida's hot. It's at the very back up against my garage anyway, so it wasn't getting a lot of sun regardless. But I did sink that down into the ground. So now it's a 50-gallon reservoir, which is properly dug into the ground. So it's so much bigger and better, and it's pretty now. And I like pretty. So
if I remember looking at pictures correctly, it looks like a giant, like the shape of it looks like a giant, like an old school clothes drying line, right?
Yeah, kind of.
Like it's the post with the T on the top. Yeah.
Yeah.
And what were those? Just 4x4s?
4x4s going. Actually, it's actually 2x4s, but they're sandwiched together with ladders. And I forget why I did that. There was a reason.
Oh, instead of using 4x4s?
Yes. And something to do with the way it was constructed to go into the other part of it. I don't remember the exact reasoning, but there was some kind of reasoning.
Did you get help?
Nope. Well, I take that back. My 14-year-old, who was then 13, she did assist me with just getting the huge top piece up because I can only do so much by myself. So I had a 10-foot ladder, A-frame on one side, and a 6-foot step ladder on the other side. So she just kind of helped keep one side up while I was getting the screws in the other side, so I wouldn't completely kill myself.
How did you come up with the design?
There was a guy. There's a group called Hot and Humid Hydroponics. I can't. It might be the one that Scott, or not Scott, that Paul Cecilia created. I think he created it. I could be wrong, but that's where I got a lot of the knowledge from. And there's a guy in there, Scott, who built a similar system. It didn't have the overhead trellis, but the bottom part with the wood. I'm trying to find a picture of it while I sit here. I'm scrolling, but it had a similar kind of bottom structure. And so I kind of took his sort of design and kind of tweaked it for the layout of my yard, and then added the overhead structure for the trellising part.
And what's the name of the actual type of hydroponics that you're doing?
Dutch bucket hydroponics.
Dutch buckets. So if anybody's interested in a DIY, you can find Michelle and tag her. She's actually the administrator of a local gardening group here in Tampa called Tampa Gardening Unplugged. And also the group that she was referencing is also a Facebook group, and it was called what? Hot and Humid?
Hot and Humid Hydroponics.
So on Hot and Humid Hydroponics, which you're also a member of, right?
Yes, I am.
So that would be a good way to get in touch with Michelle, and then also great resources if you're interested in trying to put together a Dutch bucket system at your house. And how many tomato plants can you grow at once in this?
I mean, I've seen a few other YouTube channels where they have like up to 16 plus ish. I think I've got 12 or 13 on the current system with the 50 gallon reservoir. I mean, the last season or two have been ridden with white flies, so the production wasn't amazing. I finally found a picture. Here we go. Let's see. How am I gonna? I can get that up to the camera properly. There we go.
What?
I did it. So wooden base, and then there's actual, where it looks like it's open, that's actually cattle panels across the top.
Oh, very cool.
Metal wire up there, so I can trellis it up to it.
So your two kind of restricting factors on these is what, like the size of your reservoir and what the height of your trellising?
Pretty much. Yeah. And I've tweaked it a little bit since then. Like I used to have it growing in a perlite. And from what I've understood, because I kept having clogging issues, the perlite was breaking down. And from what I'm hearing now is something to do with one of the big manufacturers. So I actually dumped out all the perlite before this last season and went to the clay marbles. I don't know the proper name. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I know what you're talking about. Those are so expensive.
You know, it honestly wasn't that bad. I think I bought, it's like $30 a bag. And so one bag filled 3 buckets. So, I mean, I think I got 3 or 4 bags, and I actually had almost a full bag left over. So $100 or so, and it's supposed to last forever. Right. So sugar break down, and it doesn't crumble the way perlite does. Because like every couple of years you have to buy more perlite. And it's just, and it literally was clogging the bottom system. So basically it's sucking the water from the reservoir. It drips over the top of the buckets. It goes through the bucket, back down, out, and it cycles 15 minutes off, 15 minutes on during all the daylight hours, and then it rests at night. I think it comes on once in the middle of the night, and that's about it. So
you got fruit trees in your yard too, right?
Yes. The house came with some orange trees. They died not too long after we moved in. And it also came with several loquats, which the squirrels always eat. We've had maybe 3. Tons of Suriname cherry, an avocado, which I've seen 1 avocado in the 8 years that we've been here. I have a Persian lime in a pot, which desperately needs to be planted. I have a jabata. I can't never say this darn word. Jabuticaba. How do you say it?
I don't know. You don't ask me how to pronounce stuff.
Jabuticaba. I don't know. I bought it from Rob. It's slowly growing. I've got a couple of small mulberries. I've got a baby moringa.
What kind of mulberries did you plant?
I've got an ever-bearing. I did have one of the tiny ones. I ended up selling that one to Laura Fellows. It was too tart. I was used to the big, giant, juicy ones, and this was the smaller one. We have in my dad's backyard that I grew up down south of Gandy near where John Starnes' house was. We have several native ones. I'm assuming they're native. They've been there for a bazillion years, but big, juicy berries. And that was more what I was thinking I was going to probably get. So I got rid of that one and got another one from Rob, and I don't remember which that variety was. And then I got another one from Pete Carbonaro from his house not too long ago.
Cool.
Yep. And then I've got a Satsuma Tangerine, which is still hanging on. It seems to get some kind of leaf curl every year, dies back a good bit, and then gets a bunch of healthy greenery again.
So that leaf curl is probably leaf miners.
Yes. Miners, and then there's like some kind of little thing that like I will find them living inside in the curl thing. Like a bug.
Well, the leaf miners are in the leaf.
What? They leave the trails?
Yeah. But on the citrus, when they go to leave the trail, it actually it's not as defined as like on a tomato. Because citrus, the leaf almost has like almost like a plastic cover over it.
Like a little.
Yeah, and so when the leaf miner goes through, it can actually remove like whole areas. It's not always as defined of a trail. So that might be what you're seeing, or there might be just something living in there. But usually when you're getting the leaf curl once a year, I've found it's the leaf miner, which is just cosmetic.
Well, and I've just gotten really diligent about spraying as much as possible, all the good stuff that I've got from you. And then I've a regular rotation of neem oil, and then one random thing I got from Grace's. It's like a sesame seed oil base, and another got thyme oil in it, which smells yummy.
Yeah, just as long as just keep switching it up as much different modes of action as you can get on these bugs for sure.
Exactly.
And then, so do you have any peach trees?
Oh yeah, I got it. The one you gave me is huge, so I think I need to top it because it's starting to get way taller than myself, like several feet over me, and it's bushing out massive. So I've got the one you gave me, which is the UF Best, and is probably easily 8 feet tall now and probably 6 feet around.
Nice.
And the Tropical Beauty?
There's a few with tropic in the name.
Something like that. And then I got that one from Rob several years ago. And that one's also getting really big. It's probably about 5 feet tall and 4 foot around or so. And I swear to God, if those damn squirrels eat all the damn fruit again this year, I'm going to be so pissed. So I need to know where I can buy in bulk the little clamshell things, like strawberry size clamshell things. And I'm going to clamshell every single stinking peach that I because I didn't get one peach last year.
This year, or this past year, our peach trees did really well, and the squirrels completely left them alone. Like, our trees were loaded, and we got a good amount of peaches. Like, we were kind of just snacking on them and eating, but we had so many that were getting ready to ripen, and we were so excited because we were gonna like make pie and freeze them. And we got some fruit fly that came in, and we lost all of them. Like when you went out there and picked a peach, when you cut it open, it was like filled with maggots. It was really gross.
That was karma. Because your wife called me one day on a video munching look at this, Michelle. Look at this yummy peach. That was karma.
Yep. Because I think it was right when you had posted something about the squirrels getting your peaches, and we had just harvested a bunch of them.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'll make sure she doesn't do that this year when we get way more peaches than you. But I think if I see that fruit fly show up now, I'm going to probably spray it.
Yeah, seriously.
Because I was just going to let it ride. And then what you were going to try and do something. I'm not sure how it's going. Didn't you get like a big load of mulch for your yard?
Yeah.
You were going to do something with the pandemic.
It worked.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, basically, I used it to kill the grass and wasn't much of grass. There was more weeds in the front yard to make a secondary planting bed. Because you know me, I habitually complained that I could not grow in dirt. Turns out it's the gardener. It wasn't the dirt. I actually have amazing dirt in our yard. We bought from the original landowners here on the island, and our house is surrounded by massive oak trees. We've got the blackest earthworm-filled soil on the planet.
Nice.
So we've got the prettiest dirt. And what I learned during the pandemic, if you water the dirt, things actually grow.
Yeah, amazing.
So which is why hydroponics has always been good for me, because I just throw it in the tub,
right.
I plug it in, and tomatoes magically appear for me. But now I have more options because, if I can just shove a sprinkler on a timer, things grow magically, also in dirt, apparently. But surprisingly, even the chip mulch loads that I got from Patrick, it was so finely mulched. It broke down so quickly that I actually have a ton of stuff growing in the front yard. I've got massive, I'm talking mustard greens, 2 feet across, they're huge. And my lettuce is starting to finally take off out there. The radishes have been going gangbusters out in the front yard. I have a problem with not picking them. I wait until they
your radishes?
They turn into baseball bats.
Yeah.
I let them get way too big.
Yeah, radishes, the smaller the better.
I kind of like them. They still taste really good.
There's a fine line between how big you let them get and when their flavor starts changing.
It's not bad though. The ones I've had that were really huge, they taste mild and good.
Really?
Yeah.
It might just be the type. Maybe you just have a bigger radish. Did you get any of the watermelon radish for me?
I think I wanted some. I don't remember what happened. I'll have to look through my seed stash. I don't think I did though, but that was one of the ones I wanted. You might have been out. Is that a possibility?
Did you organize your seeds?
Yeah, my pretty box that my daddy made.
So you finally, what did you use to organize your seeds?
My dad made that big beautiful wooden box. You saw it, right?
I saw it. I didn't know he made that for you.
My dad made that.
No way.
My dad is the most talented woodworker on the planet.
That's awesome.
Yeah, my dad does amazing stuff.
Does he make, what are they called? Does he make whirligigs?
Yeah. I had one. Unfortunately, he made it out of extra damn plywood he had laying in his workshop. And so after several rains, the damn plywood plied apart and poor bird fell apart.
Do you know those things actually have a garden application? The whole reason why they have extra movement and bang or even is because people, it's actually a thing why you see those in gardens.
Mm-hmm.
Where you put those in the ground when the wind blows, it causes vibrations down in the ground, which drives pocket gophers and moles crazy.
No.
Yeah, and they'll stay clear of wherever you have those in your yard. So if people don't know what we're talking about, we're basically talking about the little miniature windmills. Yeah. And some of them have gears on them where a guy does this on it while the wind spins, and some of them is just a bird with 2 sets of wings. But yeah, it's actually has a function because it pushes vibrations down into your ground. Mm-hmm. Yep, that thing right there.
Huh. I had no idea.
So if anybody's having issues with little ground mammals under your garden, get yourself a whirligig.
I'm still gonna have to do a little cool post on that.
Yeah, it's neat.
They're nerdy facts.
It's nerdy facts, nerdy garden fact day. So let's see what else you got going on. You are doing a weekly garden thingy, right, with kids?
Yes, on behalf of the Davis Island Garden Club, which I've been a member since I was 27. So we're going on almost 15 years.
That was a long time ago.
Yeah, it really was. That's when you got started with your business. I remember the day your wife called me. She said, David's going to quit his job, and I'm freaking out. And she's like, and he's going to start an organic gardening business, and I'm trying to have a heart attack. And look at you now. So really cool. You really have come so far. It's awesome. And
It's been fun.
yeah, and now I'm second vice president of the garden club. Whoa.
Nice.
Yes, so I teach gardening classes, the dirt nerds, as they call themselves.
Wait, this is what the kids call themselves?
Well, I mean, I dubbed them that.
Oh, okay.
Because my real estate branding's the nerdy girls, so my kids are the dirt nerds. So it seemed befitting. But once a week at Tribe in Seminole Heights on Thursdays at 5:30 to 6:30. We have our junior gardening classes, and all of their classes are $5 for the hour, which is so great and reasonable for, an hour of getting rid of your children, which is awesome. I mean, seriously, $5 for an hour of babysitting, you can't find that anywhere.
Now, can anybody bring their kids?
Yes, anyone. You just got to go online. Things are a little bit different with COVID. They're a little bit more strict. Like, they used to have a lot of kids that would just come and hang out in the common area. That's not happening anymore.
It's called Tribe.
Yeah, Tribe Seminole Heights. So TRIBE. It's at the Seminole Heights United Methodist Church. It's not affiliated with the church. They just use a space there. But it's really great. It's open to anyone in public, and it's a really great nonprofit organization. But they have tons of classes, everything from coding to cooking to sculpture to painting to music, dance classes. And they actually have things for grown-ups too. So wide spectrum of stuff. But we do random stuff every week. I think the most fun that they've had so far is me bringing in my worm bin, which turned into, and that was pre-COVID, was the last time I brought it in. But I had the one
tower.
What?
You brought your tower, the worm tower?
So what I did, because that would be messy. So yeah. I went and got a clean Rubbermaid tub, and I dumped all the contents in. And then I brought in stuff for them to feed, like fresh paper. And I brought my tabletop composter. And so I let them feed the worms. And I had like the one girl whose dad is actually a gardener. And so she was all gung-ho about it, because I, of course, had the skittish kids who are like, I'm not touching bugs. And of course, there was a couple of like, those like dirt roaches that were in there. And kids are freaking and screaming and running around. And then before you knew it, I had all the kids putting worms on their mouths as mustaches.
Nice.
Hold them on their face and take a picture of me, and putting them in their noses. It was amazing. But it was great because initially it was just the one kid who only wanted to touch the worm, and before you knew it, all of them were rubbing them all over their bodies. It was hilarious.
Yeah, that's how it always goes down. I love bringing my worms to the kids. I got to do that last week on Friday was my last day with my first semester kids at one of my only schools that I'm going to right now.
You mean before
we got to harvest everything, and they all got to take like a bag of stuff home, and I brought my worm bin for them to play with. We actually got a really good corn harvest out of that garden.
What variety did you have? I know Paul Zamota had a Cuban corn, I think.
Yeah, the variety that I always grow is baby corn. It's actually
is it the little ones that come in the can for the Asian?
That's what it's actually marketed for. But I found, so you can pick them like that, and each stalk will put out 3 to 5 ears. And you can pick them like that if you want. But I found if I pollinate them, or they get pollinated by the wind, and I let them go all the way, they're a little bit smaller. They're probably 8-9 inches. But just as big around as a real ear. Nice, delicious orange corn. It's absolute yellow corn. It's
really
absolutely delicious, and really fast too. I think I planted it on. See, I have it written down here. Planted corn. I planted corn with them on October 2nd. And I actually harvested it on November 4th.
Really? Impressive.
Harvested corn, yeah. I harvested it on November 4th. No, I'm sorry, December 4th. We planted it on, am I seeing this right?
No.
We planted it on October 2nd, and we harvested it on December 4th. And I actually brought it all home and kept it in my fridge. And then last Friday, brought it back with me, and they all got to take it home with them, along with like tons of eggplants, green beans, strawberries, radishes, lots of radishes.
Yeah. That's awesome.
They weren't too thrilled about the radishes, but it's just, that's a really fun thing to plant with the kids because they get to see it come up really quickly.
Yeah.
It's going to produce. So I always put in way too many radishes in my school gardens because I just want to make sure that we at least get something in case I have complete crop failure with everything else. But yeah, it was the same thing. Like basically I busted out the worm bin. I get out like I have like restaurant gloves. I have a box of those.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So at first all the kids like either don't want anything to do with the worms. And then when they do start messing with the worms, they all put gloves on. Within 15 minutes, they're all like elbows deep in the worm farm. And I'm having to tell them like, hey, stop running over there with that worm. They love it. Absolutely one of my favorite things to do to bring a worm farm.
When Maddie was a toddler, she used to hide the worms in her pockets, and I would always have to frisk her down before we went inside.
What?
Yeah, she didn't want them to stay in the dirt. She wanted to bring them in her room and play with them.
I haven't had that problem. Okay, here we go.
Holy cow.
Let me see. Get out of there. Get out of there.
You have a fancy ring light. I keep wanting to get one of those. There you go. Hold right there. Go closer. You got it. You can do it. Oh, yeah. Impressive. I'm surprised.
I always have really good luck with that corn. Just because it grows so fast. Oh, and the stalks are only 5 feet high.
Huh.
They're like tiny little stalks. Which is great because I don't need a 12-foot high
cornfield
corn stalk to give me 1 ear of corn.
Yeah.
I mean, and we get 2 or 3 ears off each plant.
That's really cool.
Most corn you get like 1 ear per plant. Kind of stinks. So you're doing the junior gardening, nothing else with the Junior Gardeners Club, but is Junior Gardeners actually a club that kids can join?
Yes.
Well, we talked about Tribe.
Yes.
Can they also like sign up for something to get information on the Junior Gardeners Club? Or
yeah, I mean, like reach out. Like if you go to the Davis Island Garden Club Instagram page or the Facebook page, I run both. So just reach out to me through the garden club. I used to try to hold stuff on Davis Island, but a couple of the classes I did got a big turnout. But I feel like the kids closer to some of the inner city areas, I feel like they benefit more. So I'd rather give back to the community where kids who can't, come on to Davis Island, but maybe can afford a $5 class, where I can donate my time. I feel like they can benefit more from me being over there than over here. So I haven't really done much over here on the island recently, but we have in the past.
Right. And once we get this pandemic under control, it'll be ramping back up again. So
yes, definitely, for sure.
So Davis Island Garden Club has their own Facebook page, and that is the best place for them. The Junior Garden Club does not have their own Facebook page.
We do, but I don't.
You don't keep up with that?
Not as much. I should probably push stuff to there as well. A lot more than I do.
So that's the Davis. If you guys are in the Tampa area and you have kids, then definitely worth checking out.
Yeah, like I post the kids' activities every week of the stuff that we're doing. Like last week, with the garden club, one of the big things that we do for the whole state is Camp Wekiva, and we all have these little tags that they're made out of little tree cookies. So last week's class was some education on trees. And so I ordered some of the little wood rounds. We drilled our holes. I let them decorate them. And I told them a little bit about the camp. And we made our own name tags. And they had a lot of fun with that. And so what I'm going to do from now on is any kid that's come to the class more than 2 or 3 times, who's now like, a regular, I'm going to let them have their own tree cookie name tag. Because it's more like, an honor that you keep coming. You get to be special and have a name tag. So we did name tags and even played around with a wood burner and burned some names into some. And so we did some tree education. We actually also had some really cool leaves that were from North Carolina to play with. So one kid got some artistic with some glue and some wooden beads. And the week before that, I showed them some loofah sponges. You will be surprised how many kids have no idea that a loofah comes from the ground and not the sea. So that's been a big hit. So we let them play with loofah sponges, peel them open, dissect all the seeds out. I let them take home their own loofah to keep. So that was the week prior. But I always punch the kids' activities. I post that to the garden club's pages. So it's up there every week. So you can see what they're doing.
Okay, cool.
Mm-hmm.
So you basically do like artsy stuff with the kids with garden and nature stuff.
Yes.
So speaking of nature, there's and this is kind of tied in with the garden club that I had no clue about until my oldest daughter went years ago. Camp Wekiva.
Yes.
How do you spell that?
Wekiva. Wekiva means dry land because there's if you Google it on the same location of the property, there's there's Wekiva State Park, and then you'll see Wekiwa Springs. So Wekiva is dry land, Wekiwa is wet.
Is Winding River, isn't it?
Something like that.
I think Ellie came home and told me all about that or something.
Yes.
And that was the Wekiwa, like Wekiwa Springs was
right.
Winding River.
It's a huge state park. It's in Apopka. What's really cool about it, it is the only state-run overnight camp that's run by a garden club in the entire nation. There used to be one in Virginia, and unfortunately it went under somewhere mid-2000s, like 2013, 2015. But we are the only still camp that's run by a garden club in the entire United States, which is...
And that's what the Federation of Garden Clubs, is that what it's called?
Florida Federation of Garden Clubs. So all the garden clubs in the state of Florida get together. I would like to say once a year to run this camp, but it literally is a year run, we work around the year to keep it going. Obviously the camp is only there for 6 weeks of the summer, but it takes a lot of other time during the year for it to, be a continuous thing.
And what do the kids do? Is this just like a normal summer camp where they just sing songs and roast marshmallows, or? Depends
on what you call normal.
Right.
My daughter and lots of my daughter's friends have partook, whatever the correct term or that tense of that is, in some of these camps up North Carolina that are basically like resort style, which it's nothing like that. It's your good old school camp. They stay in actual cabins that don't actually have AC, that was insane to me at first.
Yeah,
like
that's
in
not
Florida, up north, not a big deal. State of Florida without an air conditioning, I just couldn't imagine that. But every single day there is an hour-long nature hike, which is the part that I do. They have an hour in the craft hall, which is this huge, amazing building, which is beautiful with a giant fireplace, which I don't think anyone's ever used. So they do craft hour, nature hour. And so in the middle of this amazing state park, they have an in-ground swimming pool, and it was put there just for the kids. So they go swimming every day for about an hour, and then and it's 1 week increments for the camps. And then in the middle of the week, they get to go to the springs. So they take them all to the springs during the week. And there's different programs, like the 6th graders do a week of digital photography, which I think is what Ellie did last year, I believe, maybe. I could be wrong.
No, I think that's what she was supposed to do this summer.
Yeah, you're right. Maddie did that. And then the 7th grade program, they do 3 days of, Maddie, what's the 7th grade program called? Where you're out in the middle of nowhere at Camp Wekiva. Primitive. So it's called primitive camping, literally tent camping in the woods. They do have like a toilet out there and like literally a shower head on a pole surrounded by wood. I mean, it's pretty archaic, and they cook over a fire. The kitchen sends them their food, but the kids have to do it all. Like the grownups don't interfere, and it's kind of funny. There's a big nice, mess hall. The food's actually surprisingly good, and it's all completely run by volunteers. And the other cool part is for an overnight sleepaway camp, it is the most reasonably priced thing on the planet. It's basically almost the same cost as like a day camp here in Tampa. It's $265 for the week for an overnight camp.
And I mean, that's really cheap for everything that these kids get out of that. But the garden clubs offer scholarships.
Yes.
For kids that can't afford to go to this camp, or for families that can't afford to go to this camp. I think
yes,
Tampa Garden Club sends 1 or 2 kids every summer. You guys send 1 or 2 kids.
Oh no, we sent like 9 last year.
Oh, 9 last year?
Yes, we did. They didn't get to go.
Right.
Paying for 9 last year. But yeah, if anyone's interested, definitely reach out to me. We're hoping it's going to happen. We have our leadership training weekend, first weekend of February, which I'll be out there shortly, hopefully. And but yeah, we sent 9 kids last year.
That's great.
It's amazing.
You can send more kids for free, right? If people want to sponsor a kid to go, if you don't have kids, and this sounds great, you think more kids need to get out in the woods and go to camp, then you can sponsor a kid. You can make a donation to either Davis Island Garden Club or Tampa Garden Club. They're both members of the Federation of Garden Clubs, and through those donations, they will be able to send more kids to these camps, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or if you join the garden club, if you're a parent, your child will get a discount.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Oh, so you're doing a plug? Do y'all need more people to join the garden club?
God, yes. I need more young people.
Yeah.
Not necessarily young, able-bodied, because a lot of the gals who did a lot of the workhorse stuff, a lot of them are unfortunately aging out. We've got some new younger people, but we need more, Yeah.
And what do y'all do with the garden club? Y'all have tell everybody about the Davis Island Garden Club.
We have when we do have meetings, we have a speaker. We sometimes have catered lunches, or the individual groups will make lunch. They're always delicious. David's had several of them.
Oh, they're so good.
David's been an ongoing speaker of ours now for probably when I started roping him in about 10 years ago, maybe.
Yep.
How long has it been? 10 years?
It's been a while.
Yeah, a long time. So we have a monthly speaker. We give to several other causes, but it's, good fun, good social stuff, but we also do philanthropies type stuff. We are being very proactive about trying to plant more native plants and native gardens. That was a tougher push with some of the older generations in our club that liked the tropical beauty, especially that was on our property at the garden club. We've got 2 acres. A lot of it was tropical plantings, and we've had a few members join that were really pro native plants. It took me a while to get on that bus. But after I saw Dottie Springer's garden, I get that native plants can actually be really pretty.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I get it now. So we've been slowly trying to switch some things over at our own property, and we're applying for awards now with the state fed to show hey, we're trying to make a difference. We're trying to help the pollinators. We're trying to, help the native wildlife, because a lot of the tropical plants, quite frankly, unfortunately, are pretty but worthless to helping the natural wildlife around us.
Now, are we allowed to talk about the community garden?
Which one?
The one.
How do you know about that?
Are we allowed to talk about that?
I mean, yeah. I mean, okay. I didn't realize you knew anything was going on.
I know there was something with the city and the property. And
do you know any new details that I don't know about? Maybe you can tell me some stuff.
I don't know any new details. I was just we could tell everybody what's going on, as long as it's not some sort of if the piece of land is in litigation or something.
No one's trying to get me fired this time.
Okay. So they're also working on trying to put a community garden next to the Davis Island Garden Club on Davis Island. It would be the only one in South Tampa.
Yes, it's been tried many times. I tried to start one maybe a decade ago. It was when I used to handle the rentals at the garden club. So I was actually technically their paid employee. People tried to have me fired, neighbors, because that was just another drama. But yes, so we've got more people that are actually actively working with the city, trying to turn an actual piece of public land into an actual community garden. And fingers crossed, I've agreed to help out and be an active participant, but I'm not in the immediate circle of loop of trust. So I don't know the immediate details, but
I'm sorry. Did you say, is this City of Tampa property?
Yeah, it is, which is why this would be huge. Because my understanding is all the other ones, I believe, are on private land, I think.
Yeah, so Tampa Heights Community Garden is on DOT property. I think there's some
so that's technically public-ish.
I think there's some county community gardens on county property, but I don't think there's any in Tampa that are on City of Tampa property.
That was my understanding, and where it's getting a little sticky is our club, and then also Junior League, which is next door. We have been using that area as extra parking for decades upon decades for the weddings and for their events. And they're worried about losing some of their frontage for Gasparilla that one day a year.
For really?
Yeah, sad.
Well, they'll still have their frontage with a community garden there. I mean,
I know.
That's one of the things that I've noticed in other cities that have a pretty robust community gardening program is sometimes when you go into a neighborhood, it's pretty obvious, like, this is this neighborhood's community garden because it's gated off. Orlando, Seattle, just other communities. But there's other community gardens where it kind of blurs the line between community garden, public park. And hopefully we'll see more of that in the city coming up. Maybe this can be one of those spots where if you do get some pushback from the city, there could be some sort of a trade-off where the way it's set up is it still has semi-public access and public use.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense.
I mean,
I would like that.
That comes with its own, problems. But like I said, some of the gardens that I've seen in other cities, there were very obvious ones where it's like, okay, this is a members only.
Right.
Like some of them you looked at and you're like, okay, that's a playground, right? And then other ones you looked at and you were like, okay, that's a membership only workout facility.
Yeah. Those belong to people. Look, don't touch.
Look, but don't touch. But what was interesting about the ones that were still kind of public that you could still stroll through, it didn't really seem like, it still seemed like there were people who had individual beds.
Right.
But I literally walked in there right off the street and was walking right up next to them. And it didn't look like there was anybody, picking the stuff that shouldn't have been picking the stuff because there was still a ton of produce. It looked like they have the same problem that we have at some of our other community gardens, and that's the produce not getting picked enough.
That's a shame. Did you guys get a chance to go see the one in Asheville when you were there?
No.
Oh, it's by the Pinball Museum if you go again.
Pinball Museum.
Take Ellie. She'll like it.
Okay. I usually try and do that when I'm in a city or a town. I try and check out the community garden. So to wrap things up, if you guys are interested in networking with other gardeners in the Tampa area, do you have a lot of members? How many members in the Tampa Gardening Unplugged site?
Oh, over 2,000 now. I think it's like 2,100.
And is it just people in Tampa Bay area, Central Florida, all over? What?
Just the cool people.
Just the cool people.
The cool, sarcastic, salty people that have a sense of humor.
Yeah.
That's our requirements.
So, but that's a good place for people to find you if they have any questions. We posted the name of the Facebook group in the comments below or above. I don't know what, maybe to the side, what device you're on.
Gardening with attitude.
What's that?
I said gardening with attitude.
Gardening with attitude. So Corey, so we're going to go ahead and look at some questions and comments that people made. So I'll start let's go back to the top. Okay, let's see here.
Dun, dun, dun.
Anne Marie asks, any idea when you might get Karabee? I was going to go out there and check for you before the sun went down, but then we had a tornado watch and it was pouring rain. So I have not gotten out there to check. Right now we're showing 0 in stock, but I'm pretty sure I remember sometime last week or the week before my nursery manager mentioning to me that she was going to plant kohlrabi. So I'm expecting there to be some out there and be ready in a few days. Emery Scott Smith asks, what is the best size to harvest kohlrabi? So kohlrabi, just like radishes, you can harvest it when it's really tiny, or you can wait for it to get really big. Not all the kohlrabi, like from plant to plant, is the same. So sometimes you can let it get really big and it'll still be really sweet and soft. And sometimes if you let it get too big, it'll get really woody. So it's kind of like growing green beans, but not as obvious. Like, you know, sometimes you're harvesting green beans really small and they're still, the beans are really swollen up and the bean tastes real starchy. And then sometimes you can let them get a little bigger and they're still really thin and tender. Just like with the zucchini. Sometimes the zucchinis, you harvest cucumbers, zucchinis, eggplants, radishes. Kohlrabi is the same. You can harvest them really small. That's when they're going to taste the best. And if you let them just keep growing, they're going to get gigantic. Somewhere in between point A and point B, they really lose their flavor, or they get woody, or they just go downhill. So getting that fine line between the best flavor and the biggest size on some of these vegetables, it's a little bit of an art.
So bigger.
You just got to play with it. Like some of them, let them get too big. Pay attention on not just the kohlrabi, but on all vegetables. Pay attention to small details like its shine, the way it feels. You're not looking at size. You're looking at different factors to be able to tell if something is about to go too far. So you got to really pay close attention. So try and let some of them get too big. See what they look like. See what they taste like. So that way you can spot when they are, can get their biggest. Scott Smith also says, I've used palm tree logs as bed borders. They break down after time and add to the bed.
Scott's the one where I got the idea for the base of my hydroponics.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
It says, listen in your neighborhood for chainsaws. I love the palm logs. My only issue with them has always been the damn splinters. Those things splinter off so bad. So, you can't really sit on them. If you do, don't slide your butt across them too quick or you're going to get a butt full of splinters. Kenny Gill says, that Java plum. Do you know what he's talking about?
Oh, my God, yes. Okay, so, yes. We need to air. Okay, Kenny, you were supposed to come over and air layer that with me. Yeah, I have a Java plum tree that just magically appeared and it's massive.
Those are really big trees, aren't they?
Well, it wasn't big and then it just got bigger. I think a bird planted it in my backyard. And me and Annie and Kenny were sampling it. And when they're not ripe, they're wretched.
They're really astringent.
Yeah, it was bad. I would not recommend it always.
No, and when they do get ripe, they're nice and sweet. They have a really mild flavor. You almost want to walk around and pick them up off the ground.
Well, it's literally in the back of my yard, like in all the bushes. So I need to clear out everything in front of it. And by the time I went back to harvest the few that we did see that weren't quite ripe, I think the birds have gotten those, or maybe those bastard squirrels again.
I had a client a long time ago that had a really big one in his yard. And so I got I got really good at figuring out which ones. I mean, if there was a branch, if you didn't want to walk around and pick them up off the ground, you could walk around and pick them all up off the ground and throw them away and then shake branches. So if you shake a branch, whatever falls to the ground, you can pick it up right away and eat it without eating ground fruit. But I think eating ground fruit is a lost. I think more people need to pick up fruit off the ground and eat it and get a nasty fermented gross taste in their mouth and spit it out. I'm 100% convinced that one of the reasons why our ancestors did not have to go to the health food store and buy fermented food and buy probiotics and prebiotics is because they ate stuff off the ground. So that's how they got that stuff in their gut. Like our bodies were meant to walk around and eat fermented. Think about like a fruit. If you pick up a fruit off the ground, right, and you go to take a bite of it, you have such a sensitive taste to that fine difference between ferment and rotten. Like overly ripe, like, oh, I could still eat this. Well, you don't do that.
So you think like on Mondays, they're like, okay, it's Monday. Let's go eat our rotten fruit to get it. Like,
yeah.
Where do you go up with this? Have you tried the stinky cheese fruit?
No.
So Ariel and I took that little field trip down to the Manatee Rare Fruit Garden.
Mm-hmm.
And at first we didn't know what it was. We just kept looking at it. And so we decided it smelled like rotten dairy. So she started Googling like stinky rotten dairy fruit. And sure enough, it popped right up, stinky cheese fruit. But it smelled so wretched. I don't know why anyone, it's the stuff that's noni juice. And I have never smelled anything so wretched in my life. I don't know why. I mean, this should just be annihilated. It's disgusting.
Wait, are you talking about durian fruit?
No. This is as bad, if not worse.
Because I've heard people say durian tastes like rotten cheese mixed with onions.
Stinky cheese. Stinky cheese tree. Google stinky cheese tree. Seriously, they look like nasty sores. It's the nastiest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Oh, that thing. Those things are disgusting.
Thank you. They smell like rotten blue cheese.
No,
and when you open them up, it looks like inside of an animal.
No, I've heard that those taste like vomit.
Oh, it smelled like vomit. And you're not supposed to taste things at the park. Not that we were, but we popped a few of those rotten things off the ground open. We're like, oh, we definitely would not sample this thing. I mean,
apparently the proper way to eat those is you like pick them and then like stick them in a bag and leave them in the back of your car for a couple of days so they get really gross.
No, but what I did learn though is that's what's used to make that noni juice stuff.
Yeah, that's it. Noni fruit. That's what's called noni fruit. Noni fruit.
No, thank you.
Okay, Mike Mason asks, any advice on getting rid of red ants in a raised bed 3 feet high? I see them from ground level and up to the top. So ants hate disturbed areas. So a lot of times when I have the ants moving into my beds, I'll get my digging fork and I'll just dig around in that spot, really piss them off. And then I take Dr. Bronner's soap, mix it with water, and dump it over the area. This doesn't kill them, like it kills some of them, but it makes them move. They will move, at least move out of your bed. And then I will keep moving them until they're a good 10, 20 feet away from my garden area. And then I use Amdro, which is not organic. But if you have the real fire ants, the non-native fire ants, those they can have 2 or 3 queens per mound, and really almost anything you could try and do, even a lot of the poison stuff that is not organic. It's really just like cutting the fingernails off of the ant colony. You really got to get to those queens, and the Amdro, if you use it properly, you just have to use a little tiny bit. Spread it around the mound. They will grab it, bring it in. It takes 24 to 48 hours to start killing them. And then the idea is that by then they've processed it, integrated it into their food, and fed it to everybody. So everybody dies at once. It's like the Kool-Aid. So what ants tend to do is if their buddies start dropping dead, is they freak out. So whether you're using a strong poison, whether you're using soapy water, or whether you're using boiling water, you're still just killing whatever ants are there walking around. And as soon as ants see their buddies dead, they all stop eating. They go tell the queen, they grab all the eggs, and they move. So really, it's the best one that I found that works. But, get them away from my food area, and then I treat them with the Amdro.
I have a quick question on the same thing. So my last bed that I had in that same area that got destroyed, it was actually eaten apart by carpenter ants. They ate all the wood structure, and it was actually pressure treated. Will the Amdro also help with those, or no? Okay.
Just the
And I'm
fire
wondering,
ant.
okay.
I've had really good luck with carpenter ants with garlic sprays.
All right. Oh, I've got something that's got garlic in it.
Yep, I've had really good luck with garlic sprays with the carpenter ants. Anything smaller than that, like different types, I believe are native fire ants and like, you know, sugar ants in your house. A good thing is like sugar water or syrup mixed with boric acid. And it's kind of the same thing. It doesn't kill them right away. So they come and they eat it as a food. And they take it back and they feed it to everybody. For some reason, the boric acid and the sugar, or the boric acid and the syrup, does not work on the non-native invasive fire ants. And those are the ones that make those giant fluffy mounds that actually kill cattle and kill people every single year. Those are the ones I'm talking about. I don't play with those guys.
Gotcha.
All right, let's see who else we got here. Mike Mason says, I'm cool, but I'm in Melbourne. I think he could probably join the group.
Okay.
Corey says, my nephew follows some of our garden chats, and he thought David would look different. He was thinking a gardening wizard named Whitwam. What?
Is that Corey Brammer?
Corey Elko.
Oh, Elko.
Can you not see the chat?
No, I can't.
Up in the top right corner of your screen, do you see where it says comments?
Oh, on my side it said private chat was clicked. Oh, hilarious. Lord.
Can you see it now?
Yeah, I can.
Okay.
Wizard name went wrong.
All right. Kenny says, sorry, got busy. Let's plan for spring. Scott Smith says, Paul will take care of those squirrels for you. Paul, yes. If everybody knows, we have a fellow gardener in the Tampa area, Riverview area, that eats squirrel. Until I got in these garden groups and met Paul, I didn't even know that there was an actual season for, are they gray squirrels or brown squirrels in Florida? Where are they? Brown squirrels? I think they're brown squirrels.
Did you know
that we have running around, we actually have a season for them?
And at Camp Wekiva, you will see Sherman fox squirrels.
I've heard that. Ellie was telling me that there's another, they're big, right?
Oh my God, it freaked me out the first time. I'm like, what in the hell is that?
Is that a cat?
Yeah.
And then Corey Elko says, our ancestors often died at 35. Yeah, I know.
They're eating fermented cheese fruit.
That's because by the time we were 35, we didn't have any teeth left. We couldn't eat anything. All right. I think he was commenting on my eat ground fruit.
Yeah. It was fermented Monday.
Yep. And Scott Smith says, moving ants to your neighbor's yard. Yes, that is another option. You just move them over to your neighbor's yard. So Mike says, agitation is great advice. I can kill them outside my raised bed. Exactly. That's basically, but the soapy water really helps too, especially if I'm going to a garden and I'm there that week and I won't be back for another week and the ants have moved in, especially if I have work to do in the bed that day, I'll use the soapy water. Like I keep Dr. Bronner soap in my truck just in case I come up on a garden that I have to do work in that day. So I disturb the area. The ants start going everywhere. I go mix up a solution of the Dr. Bronner soap. I pour it all over where the ants are crawling. Kills some of them, but even the ones it doesn't kill, it really slows them down. So they won't crawl up you like super fast. So it at least slows them down. So I'm only getting, bit 1 to 5 times instead of 100 times. Mike says, what BTW caterpillars got 7 more tomatoes today? Oh, by the way.
Wow. Did you get Ellie in here to translate for you?
I got BT on my brain. I saw caterpillars, and then I saw BTW, and all I thought was BT. By the way, Caterpillar's got 7 more tomatoes today.
Oh, God.
Oh, Mike, I'm sending you the worm killer. He's buying some conserve. Mike, just be cautious with this stuff in that you don't want to spray it when pollinators are out and you're going to be applying it to plants that have flowers. Because if you you don't want to get it around where the bees are going to be. So you really want to spot treat your tomato plant. The conserve is really good because it can kill the caterpillars by them consuming it, or you can actually spray it, and if it gets on. And that's one of the big differences between BT and the spinosad is the BT won't kill a caterpillar if you spray it on the caterpillar. It actually has to consume it, whereas the spinosad will work either or. So if you have a plant that has active flowers on it, make sure you're getting out there later in the evening to spray so that stuff has time to dry on the plants before the bees come out the next day. Well, Michelle, anything else you would like to mention or say to our friends out there in TV land?
I think we covered it about all.
Yes, we did.
A huge span of stuff.
Thank you so much for joining me. And everybody, if you are just tuning in or if you are watching this video pre-recorded, we are live, not me and Michelle, myself and the mouse in my pocket. I'm live every Wednesday at 5:30. Every other Wednesday, I will be here by myself, yammering on. And then every other week, I will have a guest talking about different topics, all the way from our local food system to the backyard gardener and community activists. If you cannot join me live and you would still like to participate in the chat or get a garden question answered, you can send your garden questions or suggestions for topics to info@witwamorganics.com. That's info@witwamorganics.com. If you are getting tired of Facebook and you're getting off the book of Face, this is being simulcast on my YouTube channel. If you go over to YouTube and just type in Witwam Organics, you can find the channel. I'm going to be starting to produce some content that will only go out to the YouTube channel anyway. So I would invite you guys all to go over there and please hit the like button and like my YouTube channel, y'all. I need followers.
Like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe. Hit that button. All right. Well, thank you, everybody who has joined us, and happy gardening. Oh, I guess, no, I'll see everybody before Christmas. So I'll say Merry Christmas then. All right.
Merry Christmas, Hanukkah.